Hello there, good morning. Welcome back to Celtic World Order podcast. As always, I'm Steve O'Matt. It's an absolute pleasure to welcome you back for another wee show here. An early morning show, the sun is shining. There's plenty of positives after last night's scalping at Aberdeen. There's more positives because there's a trophy day at the weekend. And then the weekend over, there could be another trophy. There could be a treble as we go towards a cup final. We're going to talk about all that stuff, and joining with me is Brian on screen. Brian, it's been a wee while. Hope you're keeping well. Have you been enjoying the Celtic since we last spoke? You good? Do you hear me?
And I'm actually that excited I put some after. I'm here, mate. Yep. You hear me?
I can hear you pretty clearly.
You hear me okay?
Now. Yeah, you're good now, mate.
That's
you're
good. I'm actually that excited that I put some aftershave on today.
like it. But
no, it's been great. Good use of the squad. Great use of the tempo as well. That's obviously within the squad just now. The players are coming in. Look really, really excited to gain a spot maybe for the cup final.
Mm-hmm. That's it. There's plenty to talk about. We sat here last night and it was a very much a shadow side, but so many names that impressed. Nawrocki, I want to talk a wee bit with him as well. Obviously, we looked at Bernardo come in. Yang definitely looked at a live wire. It was good to see Johnny Kenny stepping up, and of course James Forrest. He's evergreen. He didn't get the goal. One last chance at the weekend, and hopefully that'll happen. Before we kick off, as we always say, just welcome back. Support the channel. It costs you absolutely nothing. Hit the subscribe button if you like what you've seen here. Give it a wee thumbs up. If you want to help us out more, share it out. Various social medias. X at CW Pod 1888. There's TikTok, Blue Sky, Spotify. Plenty of ways to support the channel. Hopefully you do. So, mate, let's get right in about it. As I say, plenty to be positive about. We spoke about the game last night. There was myself, Paddy and Joe, so I don't want to overly labour that. But as you say, good rotation of the squad. And I'm sure you would agree with yourselves. Was there anybody there that, for you, really impressed? And the big question, is there any of these guys going to give the manager a headache and might just force their way into a cup final?
I would love to say yes. However, I think the forward line will speak for itself. I think Ida coming on and scoring gave him a wee rest as well. I don't think that'll change. The only difficulty might be Trusty or Nawrocki at the back, but I think his preferred partnership is Trusty and Big Carter. So in that respect, it'll be, for me, Greg Taylor, Trusty, Carter Vickers and Anthony Johnston. So I don't think that, but again, they've given him a headache and giving them a headache, it's a great headache as a manager because you know that there's guys out there performing for you.
Absolutely. And one of the guys says, we had this chat here and I wanted to have a wee closer look at him. We were singing the praises. For me, I said Nawrocki last night was certainly my man of the match. So I went and had a wee look at how he performed. As we say, he's 90 minutes, 1 goal, 7 clearances, 2 interceptions. You can see it, 2 blocked. Jules 1, not fantastic, although I think he is pretty decent in the air. In the passing accuracy, 96%. A mere 5 appearances in 293 minutes this season. Of course, Rangers, Hearts, Aberdeen, those are the notable appearances. And he's still in contract, mate, up until the 28th of May. The 2028, 31st of May. I don't understand. We said this last night. I don't understand why this guy's not getting a chance. As we can see there, he's been on the bench plenty of times, but anytime he's come in, he's looked assured and actually looked across and says, well, we weren't too fond of Trusty last night, but statistically, the two of them, what I've just put up, are very close.
Absolutely. I think what kind of does it for me with Trusty for BrendanRodgers is I think he's a wee bit better on the deck than Nawrocki is. However,
2 seconds. Well, I'm just going to drop you out 1 second, Brian. He's just sort of freezing up there a wee bit. I don't know if the internet's a wee bit sketchy. I'll give you a couple of minutes to pick that up. I'll just finish up on this one and we'll bring Brian back in. As I say, looking at the stats there, I thought fairly good output by Malik Nawrocki there. I don't think you can have too much of a problem around about what he's done. A pretty good performance, all said and done. Solid enough numbers. And as I say, I think he's definitely going to give the manager a few questions to ask. But I looked at Trusty because he was a guy that we weren't really too high on as far as the sort of game last night went. But when I actually look at it, the statistics for him and Trusty are very close to each other. And in fact, Trusty had a better aerial duel battle win. He won 3-4, and he was still on the ground 1-4. So it's a tough one to talk about. Sometimes we says that Nawrocki looked far more comfortable. He looked like the guy who was the accomplished player, the settled-in guy that had been getting more game time, and Trusty looked a wee bit shaky. So, as Brian has said there, I think there's maybe a wee bit of food for thought for the manager. He prefers Trusty. He was the guy he brought in, £6 million thereabouts. 4.3, £4.5 million for Nawrocki. Mate, what do we need to do with him? Because I really think that we could save ourselves a bit of money, not to cheap out. We could save ourselves a bit of money. There's a decent player in that guy if we give him the time.
Mm-hmm. And I think what you're forgetting there as well, Stevie, is Big Scales, who he turns to Big Scales extremely regular. Honest big professional, does a great job for Celtic. So if he's going to continue with Scales, then I don't see much for where Nawrocki's going to fit in. However, if he's not going to continue with Scales, then for sure I feel that he's got to be given a chance. He's going to have a right good pre-season. He's been in and out with injury last season. He's a young guy that's learning, and he's in a green contract, still got another 3 years. Big Trusty again. I think he's brought him in. He's his man. But I think he's brought him in maybe to nurture him, to sell him, but you don't know. But you need 4 centre-halves. I know what happens. You need 4 centre-halves, but he's done nothing wrong other than put himself in the medal for the cup final.
Absolutely. And as I say, I think, particularly when we look at the game of the weekend, it is a dead rubber. It's trophy day, right? We want a good performance. Look, last night, all changed with that side. And as I said, despite the changes to the Aberdeen side, I thought we'd enough to win. Did I think we would go out and absolutely decimate them? No, I didn't. No change at the weekend. I don't see why you couldn't do that again. And of course, maybe put in Nawrocki. One thing, obviously, we touched on, I don't want to labour it. Strange decision making. It was a hatchet job last night, Brian, and I was surprised that the manager opted to put in the likes of Kuhn, the likes of Hatate, into which was basically a firing line. And ultimately, we paid the price with Hatate. We'll look for an update on that. But again, looking and thinking to the weekend, there's no reason why you do that again and you just protect all those assets for the big game in the cup final, mate.
It's very difficult, though, because you want to keep the consistency. So you want to give them a good 20 minutes still to keep them on the ball, to keep them the edge going, to keep the especially coming into a game. For me, Kuhn has to play. Kuhn's not a 20-minute guy. He's got to play. See, when he's not playing or he's out the game, he doesn't provide enough for me until maybe he's been in the game 3 or 4 games in a row. Mm-hmm. So I think he's still got to keep it. He's still got, and it's difficult because you don't want injuries for the cup final. So it's hard as a manager, but they have to play. They have to keep that 20 minutes, 25 minutes ticking over for me. And it's so difficult because you would love to see them rested until the final. But this weekend, I think he'll do exactly the same. I think it'll be a mixed bag of getting Johnston another maybe 30 minutes. He might even start with Alistair Johnston, which I think he has to start. But again, it's a difficult one because he's coming back for injury, so you'll not want to push him too much that he misses out.
Yeah, I can understand dripping back in Johnson. As I say, a wee bit of layoff, getting him up to speed. But yeah, the weekend should take care of itself. There'll be a carnival atmosphere. If it's anything like this weather it is today, it's going to be an absolute classic. And that's going to bring us on to the big point here. As we say, there's a lot of discussion. There is going to be, as is advertised, there is going to be the standard Trongate title party that seems to have been taking place for as long as I can remember now, down Trongate, after the St Mirren game, and we've also recently had for the cup final weekend, we've had the North Curve have been announcing what they call Tim's in the Park 3, which is basically a pre-meet-up at Glasgow Green, and then a wee parade, procession, walk, whatever you want to call it, down towards the stadium for that. Now, this has been a topic, a hot debate. It's really drawn out a lot of opinions, and we have put off talking about it, not because of it being a challenging or difficult thing to talk about, just because, as we always do, we like to approach these things via informed, an adult, and a balanced sort of standpoint. So I went away, I spent a wee bit of time doing a wee bit of research, talking to a few folk, doing a wee bit of online, so that we can talk about it and really dig into the details, the what's, the ifs, the maybes, the reasons, the whys, and all that stuff. Because I've been watching a lot of content, and as I say all the million times, there's a lot of really good Celtic podcast content out there. Please go and check it out. Just make sure you always come back to Celtic World Order. But no disrespect to some of the things I've heard. It's been very much tinfoil hat, if you ask me. And as I say a million times on CWO, it would be easy for us to throw red meat to the masses that are watching and just say, it's one big conspiracy, it's absolutely out of order, it's this, that, it's the next thing. And that would be too easy. So, Brian, let's talk about the logistics around it. The initial Trongate overtaking, if you will, in my opinion, it was not necessarily retaliation's a strong word, a reaction to the, shall we call it, loyal rumble that we saw many seasons ago when Rangers won their first trophy and the fans overtook George Square. Of course, that caused a lot of antisocial behaviour, a lot of arrests made, a long night for the authorities, a long night for the people of Glasgow. And when we had our turn to celebrate something, I think we took it upon ourselves to say, here's how it should have been done. Here's an exercise in turning up and doing it without all that hassle. And since then, it's just became the norm. Ask Paddy and that the other day about this, and I'll ask yourself, where are you at with this Trongate street gathering thing, mate? Is it something that's ran its course and becoming a wee bit self-indulgent, stroke maybe even verging on ignorant to everybody else? Or is it something that is, it's okay?
I think it's a mixed bag. It's a very, very contentious idea that we now UK-wide, it's not just in Scotland, UK-wide, people are having parties for their teams winning the trophies. It seems to be organised really, really well down south in plenty of time. We seem to have, when I watched the last street parade there for Liverpool, there was no counter demonstrations. The roads were collected properly. People were out celebrating. The authorities seemed to be on side. It was really professional. And us as a club, we're not going to do that at Parkhead apart from support outside. If we've got a venue where we've taken over Trongate, and that let's not beat about the bush here, we're taking over 20,000 people going there. It should be done in a controlled environment because it's going to continue as long as Celtic keep winning the league. So we have to have communications from all parties as to say, right, how are we going to approach this? How are we going to deal with it on the day? And moving forward, should it be a ticketed event? Should it be something that we look to move to a different venue? Or should we just continue? Because the majority of people now know not to go down in that. And I totally agree with people who are going about their daily business and the fans are there and they're celebrating, they're drinking, they're noisy, they're enjoying themselves. Should you be going anywhere near there if that's not your cup of tea? Absolutely. So why not try and make it a wee bit more inclusive, if that makes sense, to a bit more ownership on everybody that's there and a bit more ownership from this is going to happen because let's not beat about the bush here. If for some reason in the future we don't win the title, I can categorically assure you that there will be a mass, I can't even explain it, incursion of the city centre of Glasgow. And it needs, so at some point we need to, all the parties need to be involved, that we need to have this professionalism. People need to go out, enjoy themselves, behave themselves, and just enjoy the whole moment of, I lived through the bad days where we didn't win anything. And again, there was parties and schemes and there was parties everywhere else. Centred in the town now, this is where it is. Everybody come together, enjoy yourself and just go back up the road.
Yeah. I mean, this is the big question has always been, as you've said, can something be done properly with it, whether that's by application for some, whether it's a fan group, whether it's a club, apply to the council, and at the stadium, does Celtic put something on in around the footprints? I've heard that being championed a lot. There's a massive footprint around the stadium, plenty of open space. There's been chat about why don't we have, beer stalls, live music, and make it an official thing. Now, I had this question with the boys the other day, and I was very much of the opinion that it's twofold. One, there's a rebellious element among the Celtic supporters, among all football fans, right? very much strong within our sort of fan base, where I kind of get the feeling that if the club, for example, the club themselves were to put on something, that it would be kind of like, I'm no bending at the knee, I'm no bowing down to what the club want me to do because they want to control how I celebrate, and I think that'd happen. I think you would get a lot of people who would, of course, go to it, but obviously they would then just migrate and do their own thing regardless. So I think the idea of it being official via the club or, say, Glasgow Green or another venue somewhere and it's ticketed, yeah, there's mass appeal for it, but a lot of people also won't like, with those things come rules. And that is the thing. Now, I'm not saying that folk are going out to do, ill doings when they go to these things. The vast majority of people will literally want to just soak up the atmosphere. But as you say, and it'd be remiss to not mention it, there will be antisocial behaviour. There'll be the occasional scraps because that's what happens if folk are out in the sun, drinking all day. It will happen. You'll have the litter, you'll have the broken glass. Dare I say, you may even have recreational drugs, pyrotechnics, all that kind of stuff. Now, if you put that in a controlled environment, folk are going to have to start getting searched on entry. There's going to probably be stewards. There's more than likely going to be policing. And guess what? They don't like those things, so I can understand it. Now, I want to throw this at you in terms of the club, Brian. The idea of Celtic putting it on, why do you think Celtic wouldn't want that? Now, we know they've got a drinks licence in the sports bar. That's their wee cash cow. We know there's been a drive to try and get alcohol back into the stadium in general. Do you think that they just see it as being too risky, that if they put on something like this, they essentially extend that licence out with, they're responsible, and if it went, for lack of a better term, tits up, it could compromise certainly the current liquor licence inside the stadium, but also jeopardise, football fans, you can't be trusted. Look what happened if something went wrong.
Absolutely. Celtic will distance themselves as far away as possible from anything that happens out with the perimeter of the football club. When they are coming and they're coming out to speak to the fans, these kind of things are done generally at a kind of decent time. When we won the league, he came out and thanked everybody. Everybody knows that, as you said, that is the remit. The players are going to come out for maybe 20 minutes. They're going to say, thank you very much. Everybody's going to go up the road. They will never jeopardise the money that's involved in getting the liquor in to the football stadiums. I would love to see it come back in full time. But could football fans in general be trusted? It seems to happen UK-wide that the majority of people are trusted. It happens at rugby all the time, but again, the football fans are a bit different than people who go to the rugby. But Celtic have got to distance themselves, but on other channels support what's exactly happening. So they've still got to come out and really support the fans who are going to, I'm telling you, will be out in mass on Saturday, enjoying themselves and celebrating another league title, which is unbelievable. They have got to support that, but as a club, I think they've got to keep that professionalism stance of, please enjoy yourself, but it won't be conducted anywhere near our premises. If you want to come to Celtic Park, it'll be done in a VIP capacity or in bar 67 capacity, where you can come in there and have your drink in a controlled environment, enjoy yourself, and that's too important to the club.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So let's get back to the nitty-gritty of the street party. Now, as I says, I'm just going to use the terms for what it is. It's an unauthorised gathering. It's fact. There's been no application for it. That we've suggested this. Whether you think that makes it right or wrong, I'm not talking ill anybody that wants to go to it. It's personally not for me. I remember a couple of seasons ago, I actually was watching, I'm staying out with my friends in Glasgow, and we went and watched the football in town, and I had to walk via there to get to High Street, to get to the train station. And I walked through it. I just walked through it. I didn't stop. I didn't get involved. I just walked through it. And again, that maybe makes me sound old and boring. I just thought, I can't handle this. This is too much. And I saw, undoubtedly, there's large disruption. This is the point. And I think this comes back to the location thing. It's a reaction and a sort of Rangers fans done it in the city centre. We're going to the city centre. The big question's always been why the Tron Gate. Now we know why the Tron Gate. It's a Celtic leaning sort of side down near the Gallagate, etc. However, See if Rangers hadn't done that inside the city centre, see if it was Glasgow Green, you would probably find that we would have instantly made ours Glasgow Green rather than in the city. I'm surprised that it's not moved on. Now, again, and we'll get into it, if they wanted to choose Glasgow Green, as they are doing for this cup final thing, you can actually apply for that officially. Same way that you can, as with the walk that we'll go on to, you can apply for that officially if you really want to do it. Do you think there's any appetite for the fan groups to actually do these things? And as I say, and with the Trongate thing, I just want to bring this up. You're talking about acting responsibly and the fans and all this kind of stuff. So this morning, the council put this up here, and I'll read a wee thread. So we want all supporters of every team in Glasgow to be able to celebrate their successes, but as a fan, including those visiting, please avoid disruptive mass gatherings in Merchant City, Trongate, and public places. Now, all right, pissing against the wind is putting it lightly. They then say these events and others like them have consistently led to disorder, causing significant disruption for the local community and businesses, damage to buildings and infrastructure, robs the public purse of hundreds and thousands of pounds that would otherwise be spent on other essential services we rely on. Enjoy Trophy Day, but respect the city and your neighbours. Do not attend unsafe and disruptive gatherings in public places like the Merchant City or Trongate. Mate, they're doing what they have to do. But again, what's your thoughts on it? See that bit about, and this is the problem, and I've listened to some other podcasts and it says the council will give with one hand and take away with the other, and we'll go on to the Orange Order VA Day March thing that's happening. They're saying they're happy for that to happen because they profit for this, or the authorities, the police, etc. They all benefit for this. I don't know about you, but for where I'm standing, I can't see any benefit to the council for an Orange Order parade going through, nor can I see any benefit to the council or the city centre for the Trongate mass party, other than carry-out shops and boozers before it. But as it says there is an element of disruption. It comes back to what I asked you at the start there. Celebrate. I'm all for celebrating, but does it have to be in the city? I mean, listen, see, at the end of the day, when it's not applied for and it's not official, then no matter where you do it, it still falls under the same category. There's got to be disruption. But the city centre, there's businesses, the closures of the road, the this and that. It must be absolute dog shit if you've got a shop in around that area, mate. You can write off your entire Saturday, which is probably one of your busiest days. Does that make it a wee bit more selfish? Now, if you moved into Glasgow Green, it's still going to disrupt folk. Sunny day, dog walkers, families would normally get disrupted, but the knock-on effect in an open space is going to be significantly less than built up, isn't it?
It's undoubtedly been organised and submitted for to cause mass disruption to the unofficial party of the Celtic fans. There's no getting away from that. To put as much stress and as much power on the resources that are going to have to look after the community during that day. Again, could it have been sent to another day? Absolutely. Could it have been advised to move to another day? Absolutely. So again, I think they're coming out with one hand saying, please take care of yourself and don't be disruptive. However, as you know, that bringing similar fractions who don't really like each other out in the same day with the consumption of alcohol in the sun, and the sole purpose is to aggravate. And the aggravation, I'm afraid, could have been completely and utterly avoided. Now, I'm not saying that this won't go off without any hitches at the weekend, and we can say, should we be avoiding it? Absolutely. Could it have been rescheduled to a different time in the morning or a different date? Absolutely. So we're sitting here now preempting that we hope that people just go about their business, enjoy themselves and go up the road. But I don't think that they've helped themselves in that respect.
Yeah. I mean, the big elephant in the room here is, and I just want your opinion broadly on it, is there's, of course, going to be the Orange Order march in and around roughly about the same time, give or take a bit, around the time that you can imagine the Celtic fans are going to descend on the Trongate. And it has been put out as a VED parade. Now, again, let's just call a spade a spade. It's no very ideal, is it? No. Putting it, for lack of a better term, it's no really ideal. As you say, it is like putting a match to petrol, right? There's two opposing factions, and it's pretty clear that there's going to be a lot of the blue side out for that. Now, the VED parade, this is the thing. VED again, I did a bit of research. No disrespect, I just don't know enough about this stuff. But VA Day was on the 8th of May, Thursday the 8th of May, right? So the question is, they could have done it at the weekend, Saturday the 10th. Celtic were at home, yes, but normally these marches are quite early in the morning. You know, they're normally, 10, 11 or something like that. So they could have done that, no bother. Or if they really wanted to, they could have done it on the Sunday. Yes, Rangers were at home and Aberdeen were in town, but it's certainly going to be, again, less conflict than what we could potentially be getting this Saturday. Now, people were saying about how was this authorised? Why did the council allow it? And I want to get your thoughts on this. Now, I've done a wee bit of research. Now, you can go onto the council's website and you can apply for a parade, a march, whatever you want to call it, and it costs you nothing. You put forward your case, you put forward your plan, they'll review it, they'll either approve it, yeah or nay. And my understanding is that it has to be a minimum of 28 days. It needs to be signed, sealed, delivered, approved before 28 days before the date of the event. So the reality here is, Brian, the timing of this is it's obviously deliberate on the part of those that have applied for it. Let's be honest, there's no beating around the bush here. There's ample opportunity to do it the week before. Now that then begs the question, Brian, why did the council allow this to happen? Do you subscribe to they ever went through the official channels, so we can't say no to somebody that's done that because other people who haven't done that are going to be in town? Do you think it's because of the VAD thing, whether you care for celebrating that type of thing or not? Let's split the Orange Order thing away from it. VAD is a significant historical event, and people the world over, Britain will celebrate that, right? So with that sort of wrap around it, did the council want to go, nah, VAD not in the bin, you're not doing that, even though they can probably see the issues that are front?
But again, why does it have to happen on a Saturday? Why can it not happen on a Sunday? Why is the council not taking more of a responsibility? You can't, as I said in the previous post there, you can't then authorise something and then ask people to come out and behave themselves when everybody in the whole of Glasgow will completely agree that these two things, whether we like it or not, we don't go on. They won't go on. It's going to cause disruption. It's going to cause back and forward, to and fro, and it could have been absolutely avoided. And the reasoning that they've done it is mind-boggling. That in 2025 we are still having to deal with issues like this. You can't put it down to bad communication. They knew exactly the calendar. They knew exactly that the weekends it was going to happen. VA Day will not be getting celebrated this weekend down in England, I'm assuming, because I've looked online and hopefully people can prove me wrong, but it's been and gone. Loads of people in all these country villages, etc., have all had their parties and their celebrations, and fantastic, good on them. People laid their line on for our country. However, it should have been nipped in the head straight away. And to put out a statement saying, please then watch yourself and with disruption, etc., 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 it's highly inappropriate. And I'm sorry, somebody, if there is what I expect there's going to be anti-social behaviour and disorder at the weekend, somebody has to be accountable for allowing it to happen. Now, you can look back and say, well, it's an unofficial march and we knew it was going to happen. You're not going to stop people coming from Aberdeen and Dundee and Ireland and everybody else to come down and celebrate Celtic's league title. You're not going to stop it. We could have put a stop to other events happening. Could be at 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning. Could be another day. I just don't get the timing or the reasoning.
So this is something as well that I've looked into, done a wee bit of research. Now, again, coming back to, as I say, you can apply, right, as I said, because one of the things that really sort of got my wick when I was listening to some other outlets discussing this is this misplaced idea that the council are going to somehow profit out of this. They're putting on the Orange Order walk and having that at the same time. The council are going to profit out of this. The police are going to profit out of this. Glasgow as general is going to profit this, and as I say, other than boozers and carry-out shops, I can't really see the positives because of mass disruption of what we're doing, but then, of course, road diversions, closures, all that kind of stuff to facilitate walks. I can't see how it's beneficial. Now, in terms of the Glasgow Green, we're talking about moving it. If you don't want to apply for a procession, a gathering, whatever it is, in the city centre, the likes of Glasgow Green was mentioned. Now, how can you do that? Again, had a wee look. You can do something that's called a permission to use forum, where you basically again submit your plan and say it's Glasgow Green, even though it's owned by the council, it's kind of considered like to be almost like private property. So you submit a case to them. Don't believe that there's any fee attached if you grant it. Now, obviously, we look at transmitting stuff, and they would agree a contract because they'll pay for it because they're saying, but look at what we're going to bring in. This is how much money we're going to bring in with these international acts and everything else and all that. So they can do that, right? But it's a permission to use, and the terms are pretty straightforward here. That you basically ensure that there's no clashes, competing or opposing events that could cause problems, and you've just got to keep it all in order when you're there. Self-marshalling, tidy the place up, don't make an arse of it, and it's as simple as that, apparently. And I'm also led to believe that very rarely do these things get knocked back. Now, again, I know we're talking about football, and that really, the way football fans are treated and looked upon by the government and things are not favourable, shall we say, so it might be different here. But as I say, I've done a wee bit of research between going around the internet, and I actually asked a friend, I've mentioned this before when we were talking about the potential Celtic end thing, mate that's in city planning, he's dealt with these things. Also spoke to a mate that when I used to be, once upon a time, trying to be a superstar rock star in a band, he's been involved in putting on gigs and venues and outdoor events for music in and around Glasgow. So he says, how do you do it? What is the logistics if you want to apply for it? And that's what he said to me. Now, see this here, no clashes or competing events. That comes back to this orange order thing. Whether the thing that Celtic are doing and it being official is irrelevant. As you say, it's going to be tens of thousands of people, and it's going to be, unfortunately, for the authorities and the council and everybody else, unavoidable. Clashes, competing events, it still goes ahead. Is this just a case of them not wanting to upset certain quarters of the community? Because, as we say, we know that there's been a lot of sort of tensions with orange order, Republican things, the rights, the wrongs, whatever you want to call it. They should be doing it. They shouldn't be doing it. We shouldn't be doing it at all. Are they just not wanting to rock the boat and upset people because they maybe think that the orange order or the community of the orange order have an element of sway that they don't want to upset that apple cart?
Absolutely. And unfortunately, as I said, we're in 2025 now, and it can't happen. It's just something that's got to be nipped in the bud, and it's got to be a professional decision, and the decision should have been made, and it should have been options given for the other events. All these things about you can apply, and all these terms and conditions are for minor street events. So if I'm up in an area of Glasgow and I want to have a street party for collecting money for a charity, and you want to sit outside, now that's all these terms and conditions. It's free. You're not going to annoy anybody. You'll tidy up the street, etc., etc. Shouldn't have been happening. It shouldn't have been given. And again, like I go back, somebody should be accountable for making that decision.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to be a Joe Public that doesn't have any skin in the game get into town at that weekend, and that's the thing. People will be getting in. They'll have things that have arranged or they need to be in there. And as I say, obviously you steer clear of it. If it's not your bag, you definitely I'd advise you steer clear of it. And again, just to touch on it, there was this, again, the idea of profit and stuff, and there was that the orange order or the council benefit for it. Again, from a wee bit of research, my understanding is if you put on a procession, a walk, a gathering, depending on the size in your application, you must outline the numbers, etc., but you must also have an element of your own self-security. So that's what, you see the wee stewards or whatever, when they do these ones walk, they've got to provide X amount proportionate to the amount of people that are in that. And in terms of the police, they're drafted in on consultation with the council. That's what it says here. And in terms of the police, if they have any input on, like permissions to use, I've been told that's not the case, that it's an FYI, by the way this is on, you might want to know about it.
Mhm.
And they might then have a powwow depending on risk factors. So I was actually speaking to one of my neighbours about it, because he's saying, "Are you going in for the title party?" I says, "No, I'm not. I'm not going in. I'm actually working, so I'm not going to be getting in anyway. It's not my bag." I says, "But I wouldn't fancy being in the town that day." And he was saying, "Oh, my boys in the place, and he's actually his day off cancelled." So I think, no,
Stuff like
unlucky
that.
for that lad. Unlucky for him. And I actually think that it maybe puts to bed this idea that everybody's getting paid. I think there'll be a lot of unfortunate folk that have been drafted in because there's two opposing issues going on in the town, eh?
Aye, it's embarrassing, to be perfectly honest with you. And like I say, there's not going to be any people making excruciating amounts of money by this going by your nature of business at that particular time. But I just hope everybody can just go out and enjoy themselves, and from a safety point of view, everything goes smoothly. And like I say, we can just go and enjoy ourselves at the weekend, and I like that. We should behave ourselves and clean up and do our best. But if everybody can just enjoy themselves, we shouldn't be put in this position where there's another demonstration or parade at that particular time. We need to just rise above it and conduct ourselves professionally, which I think we will.
See, just to wrap this one up, see if there is any issue at the weekend here. If there's any issue at the weekend, and it's whether that's in the Trongate thing, whether it's at the walk thing, or whether it's a combination of the two come together. Ultimately, in your opinion, Brian, who carries the can for any mishaps that happen here? Because of course it will be easy to throw it on either faction, if you want to use that term, the green side, the blue side, whatever you want to call it, if they come together and there's issues. But ultimately, what did you expect? So who would carry the can? And if there was ever going to be, hopefully, touch wood, I really hope that it goes without any issue. But in the possible event that there was, and as we've seen before, we'll get condemnation for whoever it is in the Parliament buildings when they discuss it. Who does it fall on if there is issues here, mate?
Absolutely, and it's such a difficult question to answer, because my opinion is the person who's allowed both these things to happen. And however, as you know, you just want people to just go out and enjoy themselves and behave themselves. Like, I totally get it, but we're in 2025 now, and it shouldn't have been allowed. But just go out, conduct yourselves professionally, Celtic fans. Enjoy yourself. We don't need to get involved in any other noise for anywhere else. And like I say, I cannot believe that it's been allowed to happen. And the person who's within that Glasgow City Council authority that's allowed this to happen, they should be responsible if there's extreme violence or disorder.
Yeah, because I think that's at the end of the day, close the book on it. They have obviously approved that, knowing that the other non-approved event, again, side note to that, but a mass gathering is happening. And they've obviously been confident that they think that the city, that the authorities, whoever's going to be dragged in to oversee it, is capable of dealing with it. So, yeah, we'll see how that one goes. But, aye, it is, but it is, you say, and then, of course, depending on what happens at the weekend, well, they do it all over again. Cup final day. There's another proposed meet down there. Yeah. And as we say, it goes on. We get around, we keep on going. But I think that the notion of this being something that could be done in an official capacity is very, very tough. And what I would say is, if anyone is deciding to go in to the city centre, particularly for this event, conduct yourself in the best way you'd want to be. Put your best foot forward and be responsible. Enjoy yourself. Don't get involved in anything you shouldn't be getting involved in. That's Absolutely. It. You're representing yourself. You're representing a fan base. You're representing the club. And that's it. And that's as much as I can say on that. But anyway, just to quickly wrap up a wee bit here. I know you've got to ditch away, so if you need to drop out, let us know and I'll finish up here. But just to come back to, we're going to the game at the weekend, mate. We're looking at St Mirren. We're looking at one eye on the cup final. I've been pretty impressed by the way things have panned out up to this stage. The game against Rangers, side note, it could have been better. A draw is better than a loss. We put that behind us. Food for thought for the weekend, mate? Or is it just all about the cup final for you? I mean,
it's all about the cup final now, mate. I would be hopeful that, I know Callum likes to play every game and etc., but I'd be looking for maybe 45 minutes from him, Hatate, Kuhn, Maeda, if he even plays. I think we need to give him something, but you've got to protect our own fans, but our own players that are in top of our game. Yeah. I would like to see the full use of the squad again, keeping boys ticking over. The atmosphere in that camp now must be different class. It's sunny outside, they're training well, the fringe players are playing excellent. I mean, big congratulations to James Forrest. And I think even last night, with the celebrations with the squad players, that's why James Forrest, in my opinion, has been given an extra contract. He's the murmurs that are coming out there is he's assisting boys after training, he's looking after them, working really hard with them, settling the guys in. Alan's just mentioned Kuhn there, and Yang, sorry. It was the celebrations that got me. They're looking for Forrest, and he must be doing something brilliant for BrendanRodgers in the background there to say to them, listen, if you're not in the team, you've still got to have the standards that are expected. So when you get your opportunity, then you take it. And that to me last night was clear as evident as day.
Is the goal going to come? Is it going to happen? It wasn't for the lack of trying.
No, it wasn't.
And as I says, it was absolutely. I never think I've been as invested in one player's aim and goal than I have been in this James Forrest chasing this goal, mate.
I think he's going to get a penalty on Saturday and score it. That's my prediction.
A penalty, mate. I'm sure if that pans out that way, we'll get accused of it being set up by the officials.
I'm preempting it just now, mate. I'm preempting it just now.
No, good on him, but as it says, I'm looking forward to the weekend's action. Listen, it's just a party. The cup final's all for me, and I think, listen, looking at what we've seen from a more full strength Aberdeen at Ibrox, it was pathetic, and albeit it was all changed last night, but I think it could be that again. By the way, come the cup final, I think it could be an absolute scud. And as Paddy said, that I actually think the heavy defeat that we dished out to them at Hampden is earlier on was their complete and undoing, the unravelling of their season, mate. Psychologically, Celtic have got them.
And what I think as well is their heads off the ball a wee bit as well, and Celtic seem to bring that back a bit quicker. I don't think they've got a lot of young boys in their team. I don't think they've been able to nip it back, because that reign of form that Aberdeen had at the beginning of the season was outstanding. I mean, they were flying, and it's the same team, but you've got to maintain that for a substantial period of time. And a lot of young boys maybe not been there. We've got boys that have been there, seen it, done it. I think if Celtic are to score early in this cup final, it could be a long day for Aberdeen.
Yeah, absolutely, and I hope it is. But as we say, I think that was them done for their chances of getting into third. They're looking, they've made an arse, to be honest. I'd be interested to see how it pans out, but I'm looking forward to the weekend. I'm looking forward to the cup final. Got a ticket for that. Cannot wait. And we'll kick on, be good. But listen, thanks for joining us. I know there'll be more to come. And just on this day as well, I want to bring this up because we're talking about the likes of James Forrest. We're talking about a man that's given his all to Celtic. We're talking about a man that's been a Celtic great. And one thing about the Celtic fans is we appreciate our own players and we honour them and never forget them. And I think today we need to be doing a wee bit of this because it marks the anniversaries of the passings of two great Celts, Tommy Burns and Bobby Murdoch. And there we see the infamous quotes for Tommy Burns. When you pull on that jersey, you're not just playing for a football club, you're playing for a people and a cause. Not the people, a people. And as he says about ourselves as the fans, they're there, they're always there, and God bless every single one of them. Great men, great heroes, and Bobby Murdoch there, a man of few words, but many have been spoken about him as far as I'm concerned. Bobby Murdoch was just about the best player ever managed, Jock Stein, of course, after we beat Milan. Bobby Murdoch is my complete footballer, the Inter Milan manager. High praise for two great Celts, and I'm sure certainly Bobby Murdoch, I've seen VT him, as will have you. But Tommy Burns, he'll be a guy that will a lot more closer to your heart. And what's your memories of Tommy Burns? For me, he was the man that gave me my first proper, tangible memory of Celtic lifting a cup. They had won many cups as I was growing up, but that's the first one that I can really remember, obviously with the unfortunate Wraith Rovers game before that, but that was the first one. I got that heartache, and then Tommy's team delivered the Scottish Cup for me, mate.
I've got some great memories sitting in the house and when I stayed in Springburn, Sight Hill, and watching it on the telly, and I'm turning around and speaking to the fans and saying this is what it's all about. But he actually gave me my Player of the Year award for Celtic North when I was 12 years of age. And believe it or not, I had the same colour of hair as he had. And he actually he introduced me as a fellow Ginge. So for me, that was something 30, 40 years ago that still will stay with you the rest of your life. And just phenomenal. And this it's a massive Celtic family, and we love it for that reason. And the guys like Forrest, McGregor, Brown, these guys will go on for 20, 30, 40 years and will still be known as phenomenal Celtic greats. I wanted to just touch on briefly, I don't know if you brought it up last night, but obviously from the Celtic family, you know how much we care for the majority, if not every fan that comes across us. Is a big shout out to the Aberdeen fan. Hopefully he's recovered quite well last night. I don't know if you covered it last night. So obviously for our Celtic family down here, I hope he's went to hospital and everything's turned out okay for him as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We briefly went over it. There was a bit of stoppage, and obviously you're not going to see, you're not going to hear or know what's happening there. There was obviously something the players, good work for the players there, bringing the game to a stop. Brilliant. Of course, football takes a back seat when it comes to people's health and stuff like that. So absolutely wish him that hopefully he's doing well, and that's a good outcome there. But yeah, it's a great day, mate. As I say, the sun's shining. We celebrate great Celts. We'll celebrate at a great result. Mate, there's more parties to come. There's another trophy to be lifting at the weekend, and then a week over. Again, there could be a treble. It's been no bad, hasn't it? No, for being as tedious as it is, it's been all right, hasn't it?
Aye, and as I highlighted, it's all about this time of the season. I've been there many times when you're not winning a thing, and people just need to enjoy it, lap it up, enjoy the lot of it, and it's just fantastic. And that's the only real words you can describe it. It's just a brilliant time for our football club, and long may it continue.
Yeah, just take stock of what you've got, because we've been blessed. We've been absolutely blessed in recent times, but as we said, it's not always been like that. And there's never a guarantee. One thing that we know, there's never guarantees in football.
No.
That's the important thing. We know that after the trophy's lifted on Saturday, I'll be back to focus for the one the week over. Once that one's hopefully lifted, it'll be a reset. We've got a good manager, we've got a good mindset, we're in a good place. We've just got to keep pushing on, because you're only as good as your last game, you're only as good as your last trophy, or in this case, potentially, we won't be as good as our last treble. Not many folk can say that.
No,
so anyway,
absolutely.
Thanks for joining me, mate. I will let you crack on. I know you have family affairs to be done. I have a bit of the sun to go, and I've got a crap job to do because I've got a shed to put together. So there we go. Happy days. At least it's sunny. So all the positives to that.
Top
so anyway, take care of yourselves. Catch up and enjoy your day. And hail, everyone. See you later. Bye-bye.
See you all later, guys. All the